Right, cool. Thank you, guys. Just want to pick up in terms of where we left off last time. We spoke a little bit about the S4 HANA and what the HANA database was, what the history was about it. Then we also spent a little bit of time in the meantime for the people who are interested to get the Fiori up and running, just to have a session in terms of how technically to get it working. That was just like a stopper in between just to get the stuff working. The items we got on the schedule for today is the following. That was my introduction. The second one is the Fiori. It's a funky little thing. So what I'm going to spend is about a quarter of an hour just to take you through the Fiori functionality, so you can see what this thing is actually doing and what it can do. And then I want to use a purchasing process of a purchase requisition, then a purchase order. We want to approve it, do a good receipt on it, and some reporting. That is probably one of the most usable and well-known SAP processes. But when I do that purchasing process, everything will go through Fiori. There will be some SAP screens that Fiori will emulate for you, but everything will be done through the Fiori front end. All right. So this is what we spent today, and I really would like to get it done before 1 o'clock. So the first thing I want to spend a little bit of time, just 2 seconds in terms of authorization and a tile concept. There was questions about that. So just going back to SAP. If I look at my user manager, there's a user that I've created for purchase manager that we will see again later in the Fiori front end. I'm in proper SAP now. If you look here at the roles, you will see that this guy's got one role called SAP business role purchasing manager. That business role, give him all the tiles that he can use in the Fiori. So if I'm giving him another tile, another business role with it, you will have the other tiles as well. So the amount of tiles that you see in Fiori is controlled by this role. The authorization, the real authorization sitting behind it, still sits here. And this guy's got SAP old, SAP new, because we're in a demo environment. So I just want to give you a feeling in terms of how you can switch on tiles and switch off tiles for this person. Right. Second thing that I wanted to discuss you about is the launchpad, because this Fiori amount of tiles that you can see is what's available to you, but I can, and I will show you now how to manage and actually set up this launchpad that makes it quite nice and funky for you. So in order to do that, I need to go to my Fiori. This is my Fiori screen. I just want to log in with my own user, because I've got more tiles to work with. So what I've done, the purchasing process, the total purchasing process I've built in this tile. I build this little menu here, and I'm going to show you just now how to do that. Create a little menu and say you're going to manage a purchase requisition, then create a purchase order and manage the order to convert it, show it in the inbox where we're going to do the approval, do the goods receipt afterwards, and show you how the stock looks like. So if you can actually see that the total business process is actually contained in this little menu that I've built, and you can have multiple menus of these that you can have underneath each other. So what you can do is you see I can add a group here. When I add a group, I can add tiles, and here you need to be a little bit of patient, because it takes a little to load all the catalogs, because I have got SAP old, SAP new, and all the roles, so all the tiles of a Fiori solution will be made available to me now. So I just want to show you what can be done, and as I said, I picked in the previous tile pack that I've shown you, I've actually picked a business process, but I just quickly want to show you about the Fiori tiles that is available. So as I said, it loads a little bit of time.
Take Fiori all the way from
Yes. What does Fiori stands for? Do you know? So by the way, Fiori is Italian for flower, and this little pasta that's got a little ring in the middle and a little Fiori around it. That's also called Fiori.
Tortellini.
What do you call it?
Tortellini.
Tortellini. So if you start a Fiori, there's also a little flour. So I hope
Maybe some mayonnaise.
So do you get different content for different Fiori versions, or where does the content come from? The content is like this catalog and then all the transactions. No, do I understand?
that is, so then that is the content that's available within the Fiori front end. That's with the back end of that. So Fiori has went from 22 Fiori screens to I do not know how many at this stage.
Wow.
So they will be growing on that Fiori content as it goes along.
And what version are we on? Well, how is
It's linked to the S4HANA version, which is 15.11. But then inside the SAP system, there's a number of add-ons and components that have different versions, and a number of those determine the Fiori content that's available. So if they release, for example, another 10 Fiori apps in the next month, you have to patch 4 or 5 different components in the back end. And sometimes they have dependencies on other components. You have to patch all of those to get the new content.
Alright, so while it loads in the background, I'm not going to spend more time on that. I want to go up to the next portion of this thing called personas. Now, personas, as we know, if we talk about SAP and you look at the transaction, you can see Material Master has got a certain layout, and that layout has been there since 3.1. Now what SAP has gone and he brought out like a screen editor that's available to the end user, because in the past I could have asked the developer to please go and hide some screens for you, and they could actually customize a screen or build a screen for you, but it was quite painful in the past. So what I've done, I've used this thing called personas, which is part of this S4HANA, and I just quickly want to show you what it is and what it looks like, and then conceptually what it can do. I just want to make sure. Personas and Fiori is two different things. Fiori is the tile-based solution, and this is the business process that I'm going to use. Persona is something that I'm just throwing into the mix now to show you what the front end can be changed to. Right. So we got a transaction here called change material. You will see that this is the normal change material as you understand SAP. It is a change material screen as you know it. You need to enter a material and then you can enter it. RM120 is the material we're going to use, and you can choose the basic view, etc. But on this thing called screen personas, I can do that. This is the SAP standard screen that I've changed. If you don't believe me, this is SAP. There you go. Now it's in GUI. Those are going to gruesome grey GUI. Well, yeah, still gruesome grey. So I just want you to understand what the capabilities is of personas. I can hide fields. I can, as you can see here, I've changed the font of the field. I've changed the place of it. This menu that's on top here usually is gone. There's always select views, org levels, data. I've hidden the data. So you can have a advanced user that would like to use the Material Master screen as we know it. But there might be some other user that would like to display Material Master, but you hide all the other funky stuff from him that actually just want to see what the Material Master is and what the stock overview what is stock is and what the name is and which storage location it lives. So you can actually build views and makes it usable for him, because this is the thing of SAP made simple, that they actually simplify this huge monster that all of us know from heart, but for the end user it's too much for them. And these are kind of the tools that we can use. Shop, shop.
So really, it's specific to the user. And so for one user, you can have like all 20 fields displayed.
Yes
for one
and
user.
no. I can have for the user, but I can also make it standard for everybody on the box. So I can make it. There are different options to do that.
So you,
These obviously are also controlled by what you have in your field status variant in the background, in your config. And if I set something as display on as a consultant in the background, would somebody be able to make it optional here or be able to be?
I can create multiples of these persona, call it flavors. So I can create multiple flavors, and you can use flavor 1, you can use flavor 2.
What I'm saying is in config, it's hidden. That field is hidden in config. On the material master, it's hidden. Would somebody be able to unhide it?
No,
No.
because the persona is based on the standard SAP screen, and you just paint a different picture on top of the screen. So the underlying screen, which is dependent on the underlying config, that's the way it works. So you can't do stuff, you can't add stuff in personas that's not there on the screen. And also, of course, you'll be able to hide the material field, but then it doesn't make sense. The user won't be able to do anything with this transaction.
So you
But
see,
ultimately, the underlying config is still the guiding factor as to what you can use and do in the persona.
so I can take this thing, which is an organizations thing, and I can hide it. It's gone. It's not gone. It's gone for that user that used that personas at that moment. But the SAP standard screen, the big Makulu one that we started with, is never touched. This is just a view on top of that.
But when you add a field here, you only see fields that are available, and those fields are determined by the config. So you can't add stuff that's hidden by config, because the persona won't be able to use it.
do you set user parameters, or if you want the user of a whole community just to use your screen persona instead of the standard, do you set a user parameter, or what is the?
I think you can set it as a favorite if I'm not mistaken.
The personas is a separate layer and, where you do configuration of personas and assignment. So you create a persona, then you can publish it for public consumption, and then it gets assigned to users through the persona management, which is not inside of SU01. It's a separate thing. If you look at it, show them the persona button, close that down. So whenever personas gets activated in a system, you get that little button, and you manage the personas and the assignment to users through that. And it's on the personas layer, so it's a separate.
But within SAP, now I'm in a GUI, né? There's a new personas button there. How did I get that? Two things. I had to upgrade my GUI to 7.4 enhanced service pack 8 or whatever. And then the personas needed to be loaded on the server as a new service to be enabled. So it is something that needs to be enabled on the box itself.
And that's where you manage it through that button in either the browser or the GUI. It probably actually stores the persona assignment details in tables somewhere in the SAP database, but that's where you manage it, so it's not a user parameter.
I don't want to waste too much time with personas, but I just wanted to, it's quite exciting because I knew it would be, because it is so close to our heart of the GUI that you can actually change the GUI for our end users, and it is actually a I wouldn't say easy deployable, but conceptually it's not too much of a shock for us and for the end users to make them a special screen. Okay, to come back to our thing called Google Watchout search, I just want to show you what you can do with searching within Fiori. Okay, so now where am I? I'm in proper Fiori as I am, but I want to search for something. Now, I can search for a multiple of things. I can search for RM120, which is the material number. Now look what it brings me back. It brings me the purchase orders that are used, the latest purchase orders that was for that material, which production orders has been used to produce that material, which purchase requisitions has been used, which info record, what is the material, what is the level in terms of the basic data, most of it, which purchasing group it's been allocated. That's quite funky because usually it works the other way around. You need to go into the material master first, and then you enter the material, then you see the value of this. Then you go to the info record, you put the material in, then you see the data of the info record. Then you go into the purchase requisition, go for that. This way it is actually the other way around than what we're used to, and which is actually really, really funky. Now let's do something else here. Let's see here, material master.
So type is still separate material.
Thank you.
So it's so better to try and find transactions. Wasn't it?
So in there are different items that are brought back. You can look at different apps. You can look. So these are the apps that got the word material in it. Here is all the cost center that got the word material in it. And it's not only the transactions, it goes about, it's not only the transaction codes, it's actually the transactions where it has been used. Which material bombs has got it used, right? What's funky is the apps one.
You have to enter again.
Have to enter again. So here are all the apps that got the word material in it.
Is the app basically a transaction?
An app
That's
An
what.
app could be a transaction code if there is not a Fiori app for them, but it could be a new Fiori tile, which might be, as I will explain to show you some transactions later, which is actually a combination of some of the components. Okay, so an app could be, so like maintain material prices. I didn't go in here before, but this is a SAP transaction.
Yeah.
This is, no question, it's a SAP transaction. Just want to get out of here. But some of them are, okay, so just want to see where I am in terms of my, so that one is an order number. 45123, oops, kom hier. 1243. Tekort ek nog 2 nulle. Dankie. Vorentoe, agtertoe, vorentoe. So it shows me that number, which is, it recognizes a purchase order, has been used in a purchase order, and it has been used in an account document header, which is probably the account document when I did the goods receipt on that purchase order. Now what happens is, I was amazed, I see that's a link, but if I click on it, nothing happens. So it could be that Fiori's got a problem, but I really would have gone to the display of that to drill down to that. Okay, so this is just giving you an indication of the search functionality that's really giving you a different view in terms of getting stuff. And I'm just concentrating on materials management. Obviously it goes for the rest of them as well. Okay, I'm done with the search. Jump from one process into another. We'll see that later. The email link. Look here. I can email this to Gerrit du Plessis now. Now look how funky this is. Sorry, I just need to log in here. So I can have a look at this and conceptually say, there's something wrong. Mr. Manager, have a look at this. Or Mr. Clark, have a look at this. How do you tell somebody to go and look at that material master and that storage location, etc., etc.? You go to the thing, whatever you good, and you send the link. Now, what happens now? When I receive that link, I just need to open my mail, I suppose. When I receive that link will allow you come. Okay, I'm going to simulate this now. So this link on top, if I'm opening it with another browser and I paste that link in, that would be the same as clicking on a link that came from email. It asked me to log in. Okay, there it came. Asked me to log in, and it actually takes me to the same place of where I created the link from. Funky, no? So it's makes the communication so much easier to say, look at this person, send the link with a little mail with it, etc. Okay. I want to go to the next point of our thing. Simplification and the process defined in tiles, as I explained earlier. What I've done in our little demo, it actually came back now. That's long wait thing. I'm just going to go out of it. So I've actually built a total process in there. So if you've got a user that have 4 or 5 processes that you do every day, every week, or whatever, you can create these tiles, these groups, you can call it whatever you want to call it. You can put in the tiles in there that's applicable to him, and you just monkey see, monkey do, go through there. My experience of Fiori is that the consultant at the back end still needs to be as clever as we are. That doesn't change. The end user can be, in the past, or say currently, is almost just as clever as we are in terms of the knowledge to know exactly what's happening with SAP. Now we can actually separate us from them and say, just do this thing, click on this tile, enter this, it will be much easier. They do not have to go through 4 or 5 or 10 transactions. Okay. So this is my introduction to Fiori, just to give you a little bit of a view in it. Now what I would like to do is to show you these transactions and functionality. I quickly want to run through a little demo in terms of how it works. Okay, so far so good in terms, anything about the overview of Fiori before we walk off there, because going on. All right. So what we're going to do is we are playing a little bit of role play here. Just want to check. Just want to make sure I am in Chrome. I'm going to log in as the production planner. This guy is going to create as a purchase requisition. In this case, as you asked, this is a transaction. Nothing new. I'm just going to copy one just to make it so much easier.
Now there is also a very simple Fiori, it looks like a shopping cart. So for an end user that needs new printed paper, it's like a shopping cart, and they can go in there and choose the items from a list and add it to like a basket and then submit it. That also creates a requisition, but this is more because the production planner knows what he's doing when he creates a requisition. So there's also another way of creating a requisition.
Right, so what I've done is my source of supply, because I'm just deleting these because I would like to show you later how to select a source of supply in the easy Fiori transaction. Okay, this is my purchase requisition, just checking my script notes here. That's it. Done. So now to role play again, I'm going to my purchaser. This is the person that will convert the purchase requisition to a purchase order. We didn't pick up that number. What was it? 2, 3. Yeah. If you look at this, you see there are 2 sources. Now, I just want to pause at a moment. This is now a Fiori transaction. It has actually, I've created the point where I convert the purchase requisition to a purchase order, where I can select the sources, and you don't have to go into the purchase requisition and the purchase order to do all that transactions. You can actually override it. So it is one of the ones that we can do. So we're just going to choose this guy. So put that number in there again. I create my purchase order directly from here. So purchase order, submit. Just strip down my number here. The purchase order has been done already. So what I'm doing now is I'm just going to change the purchase order just to add a note to it. And this is the portion of the demo that worked yesterday. It didn't work now because I could upload a document onto SAP and then later in the release procedure show it, but that's not working. So what I'm going to do now, I'm just going to create a note. A note is and the note will be just check my notes. Yes. So now we're in a situation where the purchase requisition has been created. We converted it into a purchase order. We added a note. We could have loaded a document to it, like a picture or a specification. Now we need to do the release of the purchase order. So role play again. This guy can't release it. Only the boss can. And I'm the boss. 615-291. You will see that every time when I log in as a different user, there's another set of tiles that's applicable to me. So you will see got the total pack here, and now we're at the inbox now. You see there are 4 items lying in my inbox.
Do you always use Chrome? Is that the best browser?
Firefox works just as well. Chrome works as well, but some of them has got its glitches. It's like one girlfriend versus another one.
No, Internet Explorer normally.
Internet Explorer is only good for downloading and installing Chrome. But, you typically find the best compatibility with Chrome, but SAP's got that PAM where they tell you in the availability matrix which browsers, which versions.
But if it can't only use on, is that an issue?
It could be, i.e. the compatibility is sometimes a problem, but yeah, it depends on what version of Fiori they're on, what version of IE. Chrome is typically the best in terms of compatibility.
Okay, so some of the things worked yesterday and not. So we picked up this order from yesterday. You can see this is a standard order number 43. It's got an attachment linked to it, and if you look at this drive shaft, you can see this is what has been attached to it. So So you can see that the attachment is here and I can approve or reject it. Our little order that we're concerned about is order number 47. That's the one we just created. I've added a note there. There's a purchase request and it says, I've never done this before. High quality steel, please. EN80. Perfect. Okay. So it could have been a Word document or whatever, but we still need to be battling with the content. What was important here is I can approve or reject it right here. And I'm going to approve it. And the text is so the approver has approved it and says goodbye. And you will see it's out of my list. So there's only 3 in my to-do list. And the beauty is I can run that approval on my screen, on my mobile device. So the managers typically have his inbox and that's all what he needs to manage. You can see that, the yes, no, the green, the red, you can press buttons here. Okay, so far, so good. So now, the warehouse clocks, yeah, now the warehouse clock needs to go and good receipt this into store. How's our time doing? Yeah, half an hour. So he's going to do post a good receipt for this. Again, this is not a SAP screen. This is a Fiori screen for the guys who knows materials management. All right, so we ordered 85 of these, but I'm not happy with this. I am putting 40, I'm going to do in goods receipt into unrestricted, and 45 I'm going to put into block stock. And it's posted. As easy as that. That was the MyGo. How many times select purchase order, figure out what the order is, etc. So this is a modified MyGo specifically in that. Right. I wanted to put that into multiple storage locations, but I forgot. So now I'm going back to the manager, and I'm almost ending the end of my process now. So I just want to show you where it is and what has happened. Because up till now it has almost been the operational people doing operational transactions. But there's also some reporting that can be used to make you feel more in terms of management, where the stuff lies, etc. So I can manage stock. My material is RM120. It tells me how much is in that storage location, how much is in that storage location. I can go and say I want to scrap 2 as well. Now I can go, I'm showing you the linkages between different transactions. Now I can show you how my stock looks like. Now unfortunately my screen is not very long, but this is the stock overview view in terms of a material, RM120, living in different plants in different storage locations. Now we can just get this button here. There's only 2 plants. But I can also show you now. Okay, so just a moment. This is now where Johan was right. It was actually Firefox. That's a Internet Explorer is good to load Firefox, not Chrome, because this works in Firefox and not in Chrome. So give me a Johan. So just give me a second. I just want to change my browser for a moment. As I said, this is a demo. But look how nice it was. I just took that link. I'm exactly in Chrome in exactly the same place where I want to be. I didn't have to go. All right. I want to maximize this. And there I can see how much lies in block stock, how much lies in unrestricted use, how much lies in block stock. But I'm not done yet. I can go and look at that plant's history. Okay, sorry, the screen showed you, but there's a graph at the bottom of the screen because I can't see it show it. So it shows me the history per month of this material as a pass month. So just think what I've done. I did a good receipt. I looked at the material, showed you how the history was, know exactly how much is in block stock, etc. in a graphical view, as well as it all linked into each other without you having to know the transactions of any. And I haven't typed in any transaction once. And then the last one I want to show you is a material document overview. If I look at this guy, look here, the reverse transaction. If you want to do so if you want to do it, you need to choose the date, choose the plant, choose the storage location, or you can trade the documents and just reverse it. But it's painful, 2 or 3 clicks away. If I'm on a document, I'm not happy with that transaction that I've done. For example, that scrap that I've done, I'm not happy with that scrap because it shouldn't have been scrapped. I just say, please put it back into stock. Okay, not important. And that's effectively what I wanted to show you. So let's look at what I've done in my little presentation. We looked at authorization concepts, understanding that different roles bring the different tiles. We looked at the launch pad to understand that this is a huge pack. Based on the role pack, you can select a pack for yourself. You can have multiple rows and then delete some of them out so you actually have a concise pack that's only applicable to you. We spoke a little bit about personas, which is applicable within the web GUI portion, but as well as within SAP standard. And personas is, as I said, something different than Fiori. The search functionality is quite well, and I just showed you 3. Nothing prevents you to put in an employee number there, and it'll theoretically tells you everything about him. This process is all linked to each other. The email link works quite funky. Simplification, that good receipt was one button, put the data in, enter, process your defined tiles, and I went through the process. Just what happens if you're not happy with what you see? There can be, in terms of the Fiori functionality, the one can be that you as a consultant is not happy with what's in the Fiori functionality, because if you want to do a good receipt, you maybe want to do a posting date on a previous date. That's not even a field there. Then you will use the SAP GUI transaction. What do you do if you want to have the posting date on a SAP standard Fiori transactions? Then you speak to these guys, talk about Nkonso, Johan, other Johan, and they go and build you a Fiori transaction that actually is applicable to yourself. But what I've shown you today, there was no programming behind it. Zilts. This is out of the box as is. As spoken by Gert and Gertrude from Germany. That is how it is, and that's their best business practices. But in Africa, we sometimes do things differently. No? Okay, cool. Any questions from you guys?
So obviously in terms of this, I mean, you can take a transaction with the personas and stuff and customize it to make it simple for the end user and stuff like that. Is there any way you can typically, I mean, I'm talking from a consulting point of view now, sort of create the business process per se for a user. Let's say he needs to do transaction A, B, X, and Z
Yes,
as a tile almost.
gloriously yes.
Because
That is what
can-
Fiori is for. It's a simplification of that. We can actually do one transaction, press one, but you need to use the plant again and you need to use the same WBS, so you can build that, carry that in containers and pass it through as a single. And this is the functionality I was trying to explain, that actually if you want to build a Fiori tile that can do a funky thing that's specifically for these guys. And this is where I think a company like Gijima and our SAP asset can really take some of our IP and actually build a tile like that and actually make it available.